Hi, everybody. So, boys and their aggression and their big feelings and the testosterone and how deeply misunderstood they are in our culture. This is an area that I'm so passionate about. You know, my parenting work over the last 8 years as a coach has been so near and dear to my heart, and I've kind of steered away from it a little bit because I want to have a bigger conversation. But today I'm going to talk about this because a friend of mine sent me. Hi, Tony. A friend of mine sent me a picture of what her son, who's in first grade, did to the classroom to get him kicked out of school, and basically just trashed it, threw over chairs, desks, the whole shebang. And this happens a lot in school in particular. But it's not about school, right? It's that here's the thing. I get goosebumps just thinking about this. Like, most of the world, the way that we interact with children is not in a respectful way. Most of us live in this country where children are taught to be seen but not heard, and boys in particular are not allowed to cry. They're not allowed to express their rage. They're not allowed to express their feelings. And so we end up in this massive culture of toxic masculinity, right? I believe that what we have, it's just it's a micro of the macro, and these little boys need support in a completely fucking different way than most of us have ever seen or ever witnessed or ever experienced ourselves. And it's part of the work that I do in Mommy Minutes. So, and I know this firsthand because I had a very, very, very aggressive little boy. And I didn't know what to do I didn't know what to do about it, and nothing that I was doing was working. And what I knew and what I know now is that under aggression, whether you have a boy or a girl, under any aggression, no matter what is going on with a small child, under any aggression is fear. Always. Always, always, always. Children don't manipulate us. They don't want to hurt people. They don't want to lash out. It's actually very scary for them, because what happens, and the science part of it is really important. So this prefrontal cortex in the front of their brain, that's the part of the brain that's in charge of judgment, reasoning, short-term memory, and impulse control, right? All things that we want our kids to have access to, yes? And what happens is when they get flooded with feelings, and they can get flooded with feelings for all kinds of reasons. They could have a memory, something that's triggering them, something that literally happened in the classroom, somebody not treating them well, another child being unkind, a teacher being unkind, energy, right? They pick up on energy. We are all energetic beings. There's so many factors that our children are navigating every fucking day, and we don't think about it. We don't think about it. We don't talk to them about it. We don't factor it all in, from the food that they're eating, to the water they're drinking, to the energy that they're around, what they're seeing. It's really pretty astounding when you look at the science on how we interpret things. Our kids are actually interpreting things like 7 decibels below auditorial levels. It's profound. It's profound. And yet we just look at this immediate struggle, right? We look at the immediate struggle of what we're seeing, and we don't factor in. It's like a ripple effect. It's like these tendrils that are going out, and our children need us to help in a different way. And they need us to wake up, and for us to recognize that when you have a child who is aggressive in any way, what they're doing is, I wish I had I don't have a white flag, but you can picture a white flag. Here, pretend like this is a white flag. They're going like this. They're waving a white flag. This is my workout bra. But they're waving a white flag anytime they get aggressive. Help, help, I need help. That's what's happening. And that prefrontal cortex literally goes dim. They can't think about it. That's why they can't hear you. They can't cooperate. It's like they completely go offline. And it's the same with us, right? When we lose our shit, when we suddenly get mad, when we're like, fine, 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 and then all of a sudden we blow our stack. It's the same frigging thing. And what happens is that we're in this culture that, first of all, doesn't let boys cry. We don't encourage them to express their feelings. They're riddled with shame. From the time a little boy is 2 years old, they're told to sit still. They're told to squash their impulses. They're told that they're wrong, bad, no, all this stuff, when really I believe that our culture needs to wake up and understand a new way to actually meet our boys, to actually meet that energy and to help them channel that energy, because there's nothing fucking wrong with them, okay? There's nothing wrong with your son. There's nothing wrong with them. And I'm so passionate about this because because I went through it for years with my son, years trying everything that I could. And when I learned about this, the parenting style that I use, it changed everything for us, everything. First of all children need to cry, okay? Crying is good. Crying actually heals the hurt. When your child cries, they're actually releasing stress hormones from their body. They're releasing cortisol from their body. If you can just shut the hell up and actually be with the feelings and give them a container and be an anchor for them while they weather their storm, and you keep yourself safe and you don't let anybody get hurt, obviously, but you can actually be a container for them. I am telling you, I have watched boys completely transform. I have watched them go from the most violent, aggressive, confused little person to the sweetest, kindest, gentlest, most loving. It's just that feelings get stuck. Feelings get stuck in our children's bodies all the friggin' time, despite our best efforts, even if we're respectful, even if we're giving them choices every day, even if we're doing the absolute best that we can, which of course I know that all of you are. Every parent that I've ever worked with, we are all doing our best. But you know what? Our best is not good enough when we have a culture that squashes down these little boys and tells them that they're bad from the time they're 2 years old. The suppression of boys from the time they're really, really little is true. I've seen it over and over. I see it in schools all the time. I coached soccer last year because my son wanted to be on a soccer team. And I was like, well, the only way I'm letting that happen is I have to be the coach. And that's because I didn't want this toxic masculinity passed down. I didn't want him to be around this whole different environment. And so I made sure that I was there so that I could help him navigate feelings that came up. I could watch the dynamics that were going on amongst the boys, and I could step in and use these tools that I know and that I've become a friggin' ninja master at. I've been teaching it for 8 years. I use it every day with my family. And it goes away. I want you to know the aggression can absolutely go away. But at the root of all aggression is fear. Every single time, no matter what. Because you can see the shame in them. You can see the guilt. You see the hunched shoulders. You see that they can't make eye contact with you. You see that they have done something that they already know they made a mistake. And what do? We come in and we shame them and we lecture them and we make them feel worse and we punish them and we kick them out of school and we do all this bullshit that doesn't do anything to get at the root. This is what we need to do. We need to get at the root of what's going on. A kid doesn't just flip out on their own, you guys, okay? Give me some hearts and thumbs up if you know what I'm talking about. I'm so passionate about this because we need a new paradigm for our boys, and we need to start treating them in a different way so that they can really be supported to be their fully expressed selves. You know, my son, we're very similar in terms of our fire and our passion. And we talk about it all the time in our family. He knows when he gets mad, but he has had this container forever on how to move his body, how to express his rage, how to channel it, how to get it out. Because what happens is that most kids, by the time they're 3 years old, if they have not been in an environment that welcomes tears and that understands that tears is actually healing, then most children, by the time they're 3, they've developed some really fucking great coping mechanisms to stuff the feelings, right? Give me some hearts if you were a child that was never allowed to cry, right? We would cry by ourselves in our room, we would stuff our feelings, and then we're these adults walking around going, oh, I don't know why I feel so bad. I don't know why I have so much illness in my body, right? It's such a it's like Pandora's box when you really open it up, and there's lots and lots of layers to it, and I'll come back. But I want anybody to know that there's a great resource. My Mommy Minutes Facebook page has hundreds of videos on this. You can write in aggression, you can write in roughhousing, you can write in Stay With Me, which is this tool that I teach about staying with the feelings. Instead of trying to talk your kid out of the feelings or tell them that they're wrong about their feelings or pushing them away when they have the big feelings that come up, you're going to stay with them and actually be the anchor for them. Oh gosh, I see how you're feeling. Wow, I'm so sorry. And you let them cry and cry and cry and cry and cry and cry. And I promise you, by the end, if you can hang in there with your child until the very end, it's like the light bulb comes on in their whole life. You watch the brain open up. You watch that they can make eye contact with you again. You watch that they're back to their beautiful, natural, incredible selves, because all children are amazing. And the only time that children get off track, right? And off track just means like they can't think clearly, they can't cooperate, they're defiant, they're uncooperative, they're tight, they're angry, anytime you have a child that has this going on, Anytime you can know that there are feelings in their body that is affecting this prefrontal cortex, and it's inhibiting their ability to think. Period. It's as simple as that. And so what you need are these tools to help them open it up. And one of the tools that I'm going to share right now is roughhousing. Every single mammal in the world roughhouses. And it's something that very few of us grew up with. And it is one of the single best way to help your child, especially your boys, to process feelings and get it out. And they need that physical contact. And you nuzzle them, or you throw them on the bed, or you play Slammo. I have all these games that I teach about how to help your child. And this works for girls too, by the way. It's for everybody. Like, we all need to move our bodies to get those feelings out. And it works. So if you have a child who's aggressive, I want you to know this goes for just, whether they're aggressive just with their words or they're actually aggressive physically. There's lots of different variations of aggression, but it works with everybody. If you really put it in 15 to 30 minutes of roughhousing every single night as a family, where you're all getting down on the floor and wrestling together, or massive pillow fights, or sock fights, or rolling. We do steamroller if they're smaller. You put them on and you just steamroll, which means you roll across the bed and you roll back across the bed. They will laugh and laugh and laugh. Laughing releases stress and tension in our children's bodies, and it helps that brain come back online. There's so much to this, but I want to keep this short. So if you need more information on this, I'm going to drop the Mommy Minutes link in the comments for you. Please tag and share. I feel like we need a fucking movement for our boys. I'm so passionate about this. We need a movement for our boys. A global fucking movement in knowing that there's nothing wrong with them. They don't need to be fixed. They're not broken. They don't need to be put on fucking medication. And all they need is an outlet for the feelings, and for the adults to step up and learn some new fucking tools. Because if we want our world to be different, we have to start at home. We have to start doing this differently at home. And yeah, I'm pretty fiery about this right now because this woman just messaged me about her son getting kicked out of school, and I'm just like, God damn it, this happens all the time. It happens every single day, that our schools are not equipped for these boys. They don't know what to do with it, and they make them wrong, and they punish them, and they shame them, and that hurt just digs in deeper, which just affects their brain. It literally affects their brain. The neurons in their brain stop connecting when our boys are shamed and punished and pushed away for being who they are. And really what they need is help. Right? They need help. Why do we think that these little children know how to navigate their feelings? They don't. They need us to help them. So please tag and share this with anybody that you think this would help, and send them over to Mommy Minutes, and you can go to the videos and you can see hundreds of videos about all these different tools that I teach. They're all free. They're here to serve. They're here to raise the consciousness of the planet and help us to do things differently as parents. Because I didn't know this stuff. I just was gifted with a child who was super aggressive and cried all the time. And that was from birth trauma. This is another thing that nobody talks about. Birth trauma is real, and the babies need to process it. But we're taught in this culture to not cry. All of us are. I didn't start crying until I was in my 30s. We're taught stuff it. Don't show what's really here. I cry all the fucking time, almost every day. And I love it, because what I know is that there's healing that happens when we cry, when I cry, when my children cry. It's a real paradigm shift to shift into it. And what happens for most of us is that we can't hang in there with our kids' feelings because nobody was there for us when we were a child. So what happens is, and you know this, I know all you parents that are on here watching this, when our kids get upset, our blood starts to boil. All of a sudden we're annoyed. We're just on edge, right? And we just want it to stop. And I want you to know that, first of all, it's totally normal, and you can work on yourself so that you get to the other side of that, because our children need us to be open and ready and willing and able to receive all of their big feelings. And the only way that we can do that as adults is by getting our own listening time. We need somebody to listen to us so that we can listen to our children. Do you see how this works? Because practically all of us, were not listened to when we were children. So instead, when our big feelings came up, we were labeled, we were shushed, we were told to go to our room and calm down, we were punished, we were spanked, we were reprimanded, we were all kinds of feelings. Give me some hearts if you know what I'm talking about. We all went through this as children. And so initially this impulse that comes up in us, it's almost out of our control. Because what happens is our prefrontal cortex goes a little bit dim when we get triggered by a kid's crying or our kids tantruming, or they're being so unreasonable, or they won't listen, or they're doing everything that you don't want them to do, right? And then our blood starts boiling and our prefrontal cortex goes dim. And then you have a child that can't think and you have a parent that can't think, and then it's just a big clusterfuck, and you're just like in this vicious cycle. You're in power struggles. You're not talking or treating your kids the way that you want to, and that's not your fault because you weren't treated well as a kid. So all those feelings come up for you, whether it's conscious or not. And for most of us, it's not conscious, right? Most of us are just like, I'm so pissed off, but I don't know why. You can know that if you get totally pissed off with your child, that it's 99.9% of the time, if you really take time to drill down into that, you can figure out that there was a memory of something that happened to you when you were a child. Or you have those memories where you're like, I would never say that to my kids. You know what would happen to me or to my parents? You know what would happen to me if I had done this to my parents, right? If you have those thoughts, you can know that there were things that happened to you when you were a little girl or a little boy that weren't ideal. And we had the parents who were doing the very best that they could. Okay, this is not about blaming our parents. We cannot, if you had a shitty childhood, so be it. Most of us did, but you're not responsible for how you're raised, but you are 100% responsible for how you're living as an adult, and you're 100% responsible for what you're choosing to do with your child. And there's a way to heal all of it, so that you can have more levity, so you can be more playful, so that you can help your children process these big feelings. And the most amazing thing about this is that when you learn these tools and you start applying them, it's just like brushing your teeth or drinking water or all the things that you do. Like, nobody thinks about the emotional component, the emotional intelligence of our children and how important that is. And when you add this into your daily life, like, it is as important as my kids brushing my teeth, that I'm working with them in an emotional way every day and helping them to process things in the moment. Because what will happen is that your whole life, and I mean your whole fucking life with your kids, will get so much easier and so much more joyful. And you'll be like, oh my God, I wish I had known this earlier. Seriously, every single person I've ever worked with that I have taught this to, I have an online course too, by the way, and I'm thinking about offering it again. Maybe I will in the next couple of weeks. But every single person has told me, I wish I had learned this earlier, because they watch their lives transform, because parenting doesn't have to be so hard. But we have new information now, right? We have new information, and so now we have to use the information and apply it and do our own work and dig out of our own bullshit from our own childhood so that we can really show up and be the parents that we want to be for our kids. And I know you all want to be those parents, and I think most of you are, and I applaud you for caring and being willing to do things differently, because we have to do things differently if we want the world to be different. So I know I went on about a whole bunch of stuff, but the whole baseline here is coming back to boys. And if you have a boy, I just want you to know that you can help him, that there's nothing wrong with him. And the greatest gift you could ever, 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 ever give your child is to listen to them when they cry. Instead of shushing them, instead of talking them out of it, instead of distracting them, you just be there with them. Your life will transform, their life will transform, and things will get a whole lot easier. So I love you all, and like I said, please share. If you're catching the replay, please hit replay, because then more people will see this, and that's what I'm here for, is to spread this message far and wide. Okay, bye.